Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All righty, folks, back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. I'm playing with my audio a little bit here, folks, because StreamYard has added some new functionality to our audio where somebody will have to tell me. They have a new one that says it reduces mic background noise, which I don't know how that works. But we have the absolute privilege today, folks. We have bellied up to the bar with, first off, when you find out something that I just found out, you're not going to believe me if you're watching live, because I didn't believe the shit. And then I realized she must be related to my wife, because that's the only way. It's the only other person that I know that looks way younger than what they really should be. Like, I didn't even think she was old enough to be here at the bar. Educated completely. She has a phenomenal library of music on YouTube that I was listening to. The name of the new album, trust me, does not fit this woman at
Oh, thank you.
Joining us, bellowing up to the bar with us from I think she's downstate too. You're downstate, aren't you?
I'm in Tennessee currently.
Where are you?
Tennessee. Originally from New York, though. So
Okay, so an original New Yorker here. I'm originally from Baltimore, but joining us from When Humans Had Wings, it's Miss Alicen Grey.
Hey, everyone. Hi.
Yeah. So, hi, Alicen. How are you?
Hi. I'm great. How are you?
Stupendous as always.
So, stupendous. That's a word I don't hear enough in casual conversation.
You don't. It's you know what it is? It's got extra syllables in it. And you can't be sad when you say the word. I've never said stupendous to someone that they didn't smile right after.
You know, it's a great word. It's funny that you say too many syllables because, yeah, in this day and age, people can't even be bothered to type out the full word your. Like, they have to write you are. How much time did you save is what I want to know.
Thank you.
And then, but then there's a word I used in college. It really made me happy to say it. And I had this one professor who, for some reason, when I said this word, it was like a thorn in his side. I would say, I'm swell. And he would be like, no one says that. Like, stop.
I love it. Absolutely. You get a second cheer for swell. I love it. Well,
I'm missing out on the comment section here.
Well, we haven't got any comments quite yet. So they'll be coming. We got a couple people already joining, watching us live on Facebook and on YouTube. So we'll hear some things soon. But before that, let's go ahead and get some house cleaning done here real quick. As always, folks, over my right shoulder is the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something you're supporting, whether that be you have your own musical group, maybe you have your own podcast or a club, whatever it is that you've got going on, make sure you reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, even our email is the Above the Bar podcast. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. I'll give you the address where to send it to. Once you send it to me, we'll read it live here on the air. We've already got my man Mickey Z has joined us.
My best.
Mickey. Mickey was a few months back. He's got his podcast. Mickey, check Mickey out. Mickey to me is, if you, let's see if I explain this right, Mickey, and you can correct me. If you believed in liberalism, Mickey is where that should be right at, and not a bunch of craziness that happened afterwards where like they even hate each other. Mickey is amazing. I love Mickey. He was so much fun to have on. Just a great, great guy. So make sure you check out what Mickey's got going on. But now I know you're in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about our sponsor who's here in New York.
All right. That's fine with me. I love New York.
So, but you live downstate. Did you ever come upstate?
No. I was always in like Westchester County and then in like Manhattan, Queens. Yeah.
See, that's such a thing for downstaters. Like you guys like getting, like when they refer to upstate as Westchester makes me laugh. It's like, no, it's just because you left the city.
I do think I was a downstater. It annoys me when people say that the city is like the center of the universe, and then everything above
everything else.
forget it.
It's so true. I know so many New Yorkers that see it exactly that way. But our sponsors right now are Budget Blinds of East Greenbush and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York. If you live in this area and you reach out to them for the month of December, they are offering 30%. That's right, 30% off of almost all their motorization. So make sure you reach out to them. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. You can find them all in all those locations. But it's Budget Blinds of Hudson and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York, and Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, New York. All right, that part's done. All the stuff's over. Hi, Alicen. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
So I have Alicen's new song. I created a clip. Hopefully she likes my clip.
Okay.
I'm not the greatest clip maker, but I do pretty good with it. I'm a big cap wing guy. I like it, especially after my son who's 14 was 8, and he was like, Dad, or actually he was 11. He's like, Dad, use this. And I'm like, so I learned how to edit videos from an 11-year-old. It worked for me.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It really is. He's 11 and he taught me how to edit videos. So, but he taught me how to do this. So we have the new song, and it's let's see if I can get it. Pleroma.
Pleroma.
Pleroma. I had to say it with a really bad British accent, and then I can get it out.
Pleroma, yeah.
Pleroma.
Whatever works.
But it sounds good with a really bad British accent.
It does, actually. Now I want to say it that way. Pleroma.
Now every time you're on stage, you're like, we're gonna be singing our new song, Pleroma. And everyone's like, what the hell's wrong with this girl? So you're welcome. And it's good. And even if you don't do it that way, it's gonna stick in your head every time you do it. That some whack job from upstate went and said it that way, and now you're like, I'm stuck with it. So
no, I think I'll actually take this idea and run with it. I will. This is genius.
So before we play the song, anything you want to tell us about it?
Oh yeah. Are you going to be playing a part of the music video or just the song?
I'm going to play a little bit of the music video, which is super creepy. I'm going to let you know that right now. It's got a little creep factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
And George just popped on. We're going to hit George's question here in a minute, but I want to get to this song first. Mm-hmm. So the music video, folks, has are those real clips from things, or do those clips you made?
Oh no, these are real. This is vintage paranormal footage. I had to dig and dig and dig to find, because something interesting is that I've always been someone who's very interested in the paranormal. So I would spend my days when I was 10, 11 years old on the internet looking for weird videos of people levitating and stuff. I'm not kidding you. This, I've always been this way. So it used to be way easier to find this stuff, people doing telekinesis. And for when I decided to make this music video with clips like this, you know how hard it was to find this stuff?
Really?
It would be easy to say there's a conspiracy to bury this stuff, but I think that it's also very likely people are just not as interested in this stuff as they used to be, or the way that the internet functions now, it's not as profitable, I guess, to I don't know, but anyway, I found it. I'm happy. So basically the video, I can tell you that the point of it is to just kind of shake people a little bit out of their comfort zones, get them to consider things that they normally wouldn't. And it's funny that you say there's a creep factor, because when I had my promoter run ads for the video to get it in front of more people, YouTube restricted the reach that this video could have because they said it's potentially disturbing to children.
Yes.
You know, right? I hate that that's an accomplishment, but yeah.
I care about them kids. So there we go, folks. From Alicen Grey and her group, When Humans Had Wings, it's Pleroma.
Out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. What you see is what you get. If you want it like that, then ask for me and mine. We follow the sun. With no fear, the path becomes clear, leading us back.
So I'm gonna tell you, I could have sat there and jammed to your song. Like it's got such a like your voice is very haunting in it, but at the same time, it's got a real psychedelic vibe to it.
Mhm.
So it's not quite where you're like, it's not melancholy, if that makes sense. Like you have a soft sound, a haunting sound, but not a melancholy, but
Mhm.
definitely has a real like a psychedelic vibe. Like, look, man, I'm gonna sit back here for a minute. Let me just enjoy this for a moment. Does that make sense?
Watch people levitate and light things on fire without touching them.
Right. And that dude, I've seen that one, but well, see, that was the video where at first I was like, oh, she must have just like been pushing the chairs and like wonder how they did that. And then I saw the dude that catches the paper on fire, and I've seen that one before.
Mhm. A lot of
And I was
people
like,
have. That was a part of a documentary from a while back that, like,
oh,
was,
okay.
like, aired in the mainstream, I think. See, I don't know why it seems like this stuff was maybe more well, actually, I think I do know why, this topic of, like, human spiritual potential is not welcome the way that it used to be in the mainstream, and my theory is that it's because of the way transhumanism has been on the rise, and okay, so transhumanism is basically the belief that, the human condition can be, or in some cases should be, augmented with advanced technologies. So the more advanced we become and the better our technologies are, the more there's like a breaking of boundaries of what makes someone human, and then we're kind of moving towards the cyborgification of humanity, basically.
I
And
like
so I see that transhumanist mindset as being kind of like diametrically opposed to a spiritual mindset, because um in order for you to believe that you need a technology to give you certain strengths or abilities, you have to basically already believe that you don't have that power within you to begin with. And so I think as transhumanism and scientism and just atheism and generally these materialist, hylic points of view become more and more popular and common, the interest in God and the spiritual becomes way less common. That's what it looks like to me.
I now because you introduced me to some words and I
Okay.
never knew them, which I always appreciate. But I would agree with you. A lot of media, anything that has a spiritual God, whatever your God is, for me, it's the same one that's in the Bible. That's where I go. They want to push that down, push that away, keep that out. I even think that part of the whole, hey, aliens are real. We've got footage. You want to know that, right? We got aliens. Also pushes that down, pushes that away because that's always was part of the theory why the government never would talk about aliens before was it wasn't that humans would all of a sudden be like, we're all getting invaded. It was more of, yeah, you're now going to have to explain how Christianity, Catholicism, Hinduism, any of these things, well, how does this work with a celestial body? Something
Mhm.
from outer space. So we're just not going to talk about that because then you would destroy the fabric of what is that religious belief.
100%. And I find it disingenuous the way that the government pretends they don't know what's going on with aliens. Like, oh yeah, as if this one grainy video of a spacecraft is like the one time we've encountered aliens, and like we're gonna put it all over the news. Like, no, they know a lot. And also I would caution anyone who gets excited about like government disclosure to consider the source, to like
Thank you. Yeah, consider your source at that point, folks. Now George just popped on it, and folks,
yeah.
make sure you go check out George McDonald. He's got the Outlaw Blitz podcast. We were just talking on TikTok before this show. We're going to be doing some stuff with our friends over at New Scotland Spirits. They've got a vodka they just came out with here up in the Helderbergs. And I think George and I are probably going to work on this together. We're going to call his show is Outlaw Blitz, and this is the Above the Bar podcast. So I think we're going to call it Outlaws at the Bar, and we're going to hang out for a minute. We like the idea.
That
But
works.
George, we can do it. Sounds pretty good. Like you want to hear
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I
Outlaws
would.
at the Bar. I mean, it sounds good. But George wants to know, do you have a favorite song to cover?
Huh. You know,
What's your favorite cartoon? Let's go with that. Like when you're in the car and like you want to like sing at the top of your lungs. What is it?
ooh. Ooh, oh my God, there's so many good ones. I actually have a running list of songs I want to cover.
What's top of
Like
the list?
do a cover album. Well, it changes right now, and it doesn't fit my voice at all, and I kind of like the challenge of it. There's this song. Oh my God, Eric Avery, who was the bassist of Jane's Addiction. I don't know if you've ever heard of that band.
Absolutely,
Okay.
Entertain's Addiction.
So he has his own solo project, and he released some music a few years ago. There's this one song called Fade after Eliot's Hollow Men. So it's a song inspired by a poem by T.S. Eliot. And
Okay.
the song has this sick bass line, and there's no real structure to it. It's not like verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It's like almost like a stream of consciousness kind of dream state where he's like chanting poetic verses and also like talking about the end of the world, but it's so cool, and I want to do my own like soprano, like lightweight kind of version of it, like juxtaposed with that deep gritty bass line. Yeah, so right now that's the number one song I want to cover. But normally when I want to sing out, I sing either Charlotte Martin, one of my favorite singers ever, and she actually was my vocal teacher briefly, and she figured out that we have the exact same range. Like we sing the same lowest note and the same highest note, which is so cool. And there's this other artist who almost nobody knows, but when I introduce them to her, they obsess over her instantly. She deserves way more followers. Her name's Melissa Kaplan. She's been in 2 bands, Splashdown and Universal Hall Pass. And when I tell you this woman has
Universal
a
Hall Pass sounds familiar to me.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
She has made her rounds in the like I don't know if you'd call it the EDM or techno world, but she's lent her vocals to a lot of like electronic music. So her name, you may have encountered her at some point. She has this voice that's like otherworldly. She's my goals. I want to sound like her so bad. Like I'm always low key practicing in my studio trying to sound more like her. I know I should try to sound more like me, but you know, sometimes people just inspire you.
Look, I'm absolutely with you. I will tell you for me, it's anything Tyler Childers. At this point, I can get pretty. See, you don't know Tyler Childers?
No.
Look,
I'm
I
sorry.
hate country music. I'd rather take a sharp stick in the eye than listen to country music. But I like bluegrass, and Tyler Childers is bluegrass. And then the other one is I love the band because you went kind of back. And just so you know, when you were talking about Jane's Addiction, I introduced my 14-year-old to Porno for Pyros.
Uh-huh.
No idea who Porno for Pyros is. Do you know who that is?
I don't know, but it sounds familiar.
So, you ever heard the song, We'd Make Great Pets? We'd make great pets. We'd make great. So the lead singer of Jane's Addiction, his other band was Porno for Pyros.
Okay. Okay,
So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, so that's what he went on to. But I love the song. Everything Reminds Me of You by Naked Eyes. That song comes on and I turn it up. It's a very 80s, electro, new wave, very new wave 80s. Crank that shit right up. Goes right to 11.
Nice. You know, I feel like I need someone to introduce me to more 80s music because I don't know if it's like that the 80s vibe just isn't compatible with me or if I just haven't been introduced to the right stuff
Oh,
because
you're Tori Amos. You would love Tori Amos.
I get compared to her a lot and I
Oh
don't
my God.
get it.
Have you listened to her?
I've listened. I can understand maybe like the melodic
It's
structures.
the breathiness.
Okay.
Because you have a very mellow, kind of a breathy sound, and Tori Amos is all about that. I'm trying to think of the one that my wife likes a lot that we saw up here in Saratoga at SPAC. Another one is what's her name from 10,000 Maniacs, that you would probably like. I can't think of her. Do you know who 10,000 Maniacs are?
No.
Listen to me. I'm gonna be like an old guy now.
I can't know them all. I'm sorry.
Here, you young whip. But you know what? I want to talk about this with music for a second here because you have an amazing sound. And really today, the platform for people finding new artists is podcasts, or hopefully somebody goes on to Bandcamp and stumbles across like the right and even Bandcamp, you have to find the right person that finds your music, that shares it with somebody. And it kind of has to happen. And I still think this is one of the greatest quotes ever. and it's interesting who it came from, was Vanilla Ice, of all people, talks about how today's music listener will never understand Natalie Merchant. Thank you, Mickey. Natalie Merchant, 10,000 Man. I met her once,
Times.
and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's such a cool lady. And she's like so mom now. She was on my train one time, and she just sat right with the rest of the passengers. And I'm like, that's Natalie Merchant, 10,000 Maniacs. She used to date the lead singer of REM, Natalie Merchant, right there in my head. But he talks about how today's music listener will never understand about the discovery of music. We are fed music. The machine just feeds us music. We don't have that. You don't go to the record store, talk to the guy behind the counter and go, hey, what's the latest and greatest? Well, we've had these 4 albums come out. I've been listening to this one. Or you walk in there and the record store's been paid to play an album. We don't have that. And hi, Crazy Aunt Rose. I got your book. I was already looking through it. We love Aunt Rose. She's going to be on next week. But so for you as an artist, as somebody, and I heard you say you're in Tennessee. I'm assuming Nashville.
No, close. Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. I know the Chattanooga area too. I have family in East Tennessee. But so how do you address that with the new music listener and trying to get them to find you? Like, how do you go about that?
This is a great question. I have a very esoteric answer for it. I guess the short of it is I trust God's algorithm.
Okay.
Like I have a story. I told this on Mickey's podcast too, so I might be a bit of a broken record to people who've heard me say this before, but basically at the very, very beginning of me starting to release music, I had like 13 Instagram followers, no promotion budget. I only had 1 song out, so what was there to promote anyway? And I got an email one day from this man who I'd never heard of before, who had no social media accounts anywhere. And he emailed me to say that he had been meditating. He's a very mystical guy. He meditated and asked for music. And in his mind's eye, he saw the phrase, "when humans had wings." And then he looked it up on YouTube and found my song, my 1 song that I had out in the world. And we had no mutual friends, no social media connections, nothing. And so his intuition led him to me. And I have lots of stories like that of just synchronicity being the way that people find me or how I find them. And it's for that reason that like during the times when I get a little downhearted about the state of affairs in the music streaming world and like, how am I going to get my music out there? How am I going to, get followers on Instagram? I just remind myself that like there are forces at work in this universe that are far more powerful and far more intelligent than whatever AI is trying to do. And I just trust like, God. I've really, really been practicing letting God lead in anything I do. This past year especially, it's been a real deep exercise in having faith. And so far so good. I mean, it is really true. If you just like let go and let God, a lot more good comes from it than when you just try to force things yourself.
I was trying to get to while you were talking, I was trying to get to your Instagram page, but I was failing miserably to see how many followers you're up to now. But
400 something? I don't know.
Get at it, girl.
Yeah.
Now,
See, I always like credit everything to God. I didn't do that. Like,
look, you know what? And I love the fact that you're going about that way. But to say the guy meditated and found you that way is wild.
and
mean-
that's way more common than people might think. And I wish more musicians knew that. Like, you don't have to pay somebody an arm and a leg to put you on a playlist that like might get you a certain number of streams, but doesn't guarantee long-term fans or like connections on a heart level, And so I feel like in every way, my music really comes up against, again, transhumanism and just this shift people are making towards this like digitized virtual life where they just depend on artificial intelligence to shape their lives and interests. And I am just always trying to stay grounded and remind myself that there's way more to the world than just what's going on in the virtual world.
it's very interesting because it is a tough world to live between two things
Mhm.
where you're getting into an industry that, we mentioned some of these things like Bandcamp, like Spotify, all these different out platforms that are out there that if you're not on those, you're not gonna be located because there is nobody going driving cross country with a box full of your CDs or tapes or albums and begging a DJ somewhere to play this for me. Can you play
Right.
this for me? Play this for me. That doesn't exist anymore. But at
Mm.
the same time, you're trying to stay true to who you are as an artist.
Mhm.
So what's your tipping point then?
From like of when I would like exert effort
Right,
and
like, where do you draw the line to say, "Okay, I've either" and it's either way of, "Hey, you know what? I've given this enough, personal energy. I now have to" asking for God to help me out here. When do you say, "Okay, maybe I'm missing my mark and I'm being given the opportunity. I need to go and use these tools?"
mm. That's the ongoing question, and that's why I call it a practice. It takes practice to discern, when you're being called to act and when you're being called to just like surrender. And I would say I tend to let synchronicities lead me. That feeling of like the impossible, you getting a glimpse into the impossible becoming possible. Those moments of whoa, like what are the chances of that? Like those synchronicities to me tell me like I'm on the right track. And so just for now, I guess that's my way of making decisions. And until the day it doesn't work anymore, I'm just going to keep doing that. But uh oh my gosh, am I even answering your question?
Well, it's
What's my
well,
tipping point?
you're kind of there, but what I'm curious about is so I always use it's one of my favorite jokes. I use it all the time. It's not really a joke, and it's the story. You may have heard this one before. So there's this flood, and the person's standing on their front porch, and the truck drives by, and they say, "Hey, get in the truck. The flood's coming." Nope, God's gonna save me. So then they go up to the second floor of their home, and the flood's coming, and the boat comes by, and they go, "Hey, the flood's coming. Get in a boat." Nope, God's gonna save me.
Hmm.
Water gets higher, and they get on the roof of their house, and the helicopter comes by and goes, "Get in." They go, "Nope, God's gonna save me." And then when it's all said and done, they die and they get to heaven. They go, "God, why didn't you save me?" They say, "Look, I sent the truck,
Yeah.
boat, I sent the helicopter. What more do you want from me?" So I'm wondering in this, because this is our world today,
Mhm.
are when you look at those things and you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna spiritualize this." Are you missing out because God's going, "Hey, look, this guy prayed on you and then went on the internet and prayed on music, went on the internet and found you and had no reason to find you. I'm
Mhm.
trying to tell you something. This is where your music belongs."
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and that's the perfect, most fitting joke for that circumstance. I would say that my main method of strengthening my discernment of like when to take action, when to take a backseat, is asking myself the question, am I doing this to make it look like I'm succeeding? And like that question is so important in the day and age of vanity metrics, which is how Spotify gets away with not paying their artists, but then having a CEO who makes $3 billion because
Spotify's so dirty.
it's so awful, and I'm thinking for my next album, I'm not even gonna release on Spotify because it's such a scam. It goes against my principles of artists being being deserving of being paid. But yeah, to continue on your question, um, I think like I tend to see my art as my shadow work, so to speak. Like it's an invitation constantly to do introspection, and one of the main things I introspect on is like um how much do views actually matter? Because I'm finding that even when I'm not getting a lot of plays on like Spotify, I could have 5 people buy my album out of the blue on Bandcamp, but no one will ever know that those purchases took place. So if I'm willing to let go of the desire to look like I have a huge following or look like I'm getting a lot of streams, that's when it seems like the actual success and support comes through. But I have to make that space in my life for it by like allowing success to take different forms.
You're not
And
blocking the energy.
yeah, exactly. So it's like it's so easy though when you're a modern artist on all these different platforms to get hung up on the views. Like, oh, I posted this an hour ago. Why doesn't it have more views? And it's like I catch myself thinking that way, and I'm like, I hate that I think like this. I hate that this ever started to matter to me because I know when I'm a fan of an artist, I don't look at their low view counts on YouTube and think, oh, that means the music sucks. Like, no, I still enjoy it. And like, that's what matters. So I always have to remind myself, like, it's the same in reverse. Like, for me as the artist, the views and streams, A, don't determine the quality, and also B, don't determine how much money you make. Honestly, if anything, I've learned you lose more money chasing specifically like streams, as opposed to album sales and merch sales and things like that.
Oh, that's a whole thing. And look,
Mhm.
folks, if you're just joining us here, make sure you're checking out what Alicen has going on. Her website is whenhumanshadwings.com. Make sure you're checking that. For those of you that are watching us live, please give us a like and a heart and all those things. That's what helps the algorithm out. Give this a share so that other people can find us as we're having this conversation live. So this album, though, so this is, if I did my math right, and you correct me if I'm wrong, this is the second or third album?
It's my first full length, but technically
First
my
full.
second album. Yeah.
So it's the second album,
Mhm.
and it seems to be getting pretty good reception. I like what I've seen, and I love that you have so many videos on YouTube also. And I got to ask this question, going back even with Pleroma, and it's a whole thing, folks. That was a whole conversation you all don't know nothing about, but um, who's doing your videos? Because I started watching and I got folks that are not used to me looking to my left. I added a screen to my left. So I have now an extra screen to look at to pull stuff up. But who's doing your videos? Because I was looking at the one where you had the kind of the rabbit ears on and everything.
Prey
That's what we were looking.
animal. Yeah.
So the creativity of your videos and that vibe is so me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aunt Rose, you gotta follow what she's got going on Spotify.
Thank
Ma
you, Aunt Rose.
you know what, Aunt Rose? Here's the thing. So contact Clay. Her son Clay is an outstanding drummer,
Uh-huh.
outstanding drummer. And I've already said this. I've had so many great musicians on lately. I'm just gonna start my own band. Oh, that reminds me, real quick before we get too far. There
Mhm.
is one rule I didn't tell you about.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about who makes your music videos and everything in a second. But there is another rule. Aunt Rose knows this rule. Her son Clay knows this rule. Sean Browning, who was on recently, knows this rule. When you become absolutely famous and you walk the red carpet, you have to call me and invite me on your first red carpet. I don't care
Okay.
who you're dating at the time, if you're married at the time, that your mom wants to go or anything like that. The rule is you call me so I get to walk the red carpet, because listen to me, it's going to be absolutely great for you because they're all going to be like, hey, who's the weird old guy with the good beard there? Who's that? Because I do have a good beard. And they're all going to ask this question. You're going to be like, I don't know. I just found him. And then you could just be like, that's the host of the Above the Bar podcast. See what Aunt Rose said? I'm her +1.
Aw, that's so sweet. Okay, I'll definitely let you know first red carpet event that I get invited to.
And you hear that, folks? It's right here. So, but who's doing your
Yeah, word
videos?
is
'Cause
on.
your videos are absolutely badass.
Thank
I
you.
love the vibe of your videos. That's, you
Oh,
know,
I'm so glad you asked this question because as for the first video, Prey Animal, with the two characters, one's like black and white and one's a brown rabbit. That is actually another story of how synchronicity led me to the right collaborator. So I moved here 2 years ago And I started getting the kind of influx of music for Run Rabbit Run, my first album, and it was taking shape and I was starting to produce it. And then I got this strong vision for a music video. I saw like the Alice in Wonderland plot line, I saw the costumes, I saw it all. And I was like, I don't know anybody here. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, because the aesthetic is so important, right? Like I saw the aesthetic. It was a very specific, like sort of haunting, but like crystal clear, like quality to it. And so I just decided I manifested it basically. Like I believe in manifestation. I manifest a lot of things. And I decided that I already had the filmmaker I needed. I don't know how, because I like never leave the house and I didn't have any friends in the city yet, but I was like, it's done. It's done because I said so. And then I kid you not, the next day, my other friend who lives in this city, she showed me a video she had been invited to dance in. She's a dancer. And the video was the exact aesthetic. It was like set in the forest and everything. And it was like I was looking at my idea that I had had the day before made manifest on her screen. And I was like, who was your filmmaker? And she introduced me to him. We had a blast making this music video. It was perfect. He was the exact right person. And I'm telling you, God directs my life, because that I couldn't have done that on my own. And so he made the first video, but then this second video, Pleroma,
See, I've completely ruined the name of that song. Pleroma.
It's more fun this way. It is. So Pleroma was made by me, actually, because this time I did not have the budget I wanted to have to go all out on a music video. So I was like, you know what? I just finished reading the autobiography of Genesis P. Orridge, this like iconic artist who basically invented the industrial music genre. I adore him. Oh my God, he's my hero. I read his life story.
What's the name?
Genesis P. Orridge. So like porridge, but with a dash in it.
Genesis P. Orridge.
It's a whole joke. Yeah. So he was basically broke all of his life, but he was so committed to art that he lived in squats. He lived on government assistance. He dumpster dived for food, anything so that he never had to work a 9-to-5, just so he could make art full time, because he was obsessed with making art. And there were no excuses. There was no such thing as I don't have the money to make that art. He was going to find a way. And I read that and I was like, you know what? I want to make a music video. I'm going to figure it out. So I just set up my little camera. I made the dress actually. Oh, do I have the dress in here? I made the dress in the Pleroma video, the anglerfish dress. I sewed it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No excuses. If I want to make art, I'm going to find a way. So I found 2 thrift shop dresses, super cheap. I figured it out and dressed myself up, filmed myself singing my song, and then edited those paranormal clips in, and we've got the Pleroma music video.
My daughters would love you. The one's 27, the other's 28, and like so would be like right up your alley with everything you're talking about. One is a tattoo artist, the other one is a one's a vegetarian, the other's a vegan. Like you would be like, I like steak.
Wait, how did you know I'm a vegetarian? Was I didn't even mention it. Wait.
Listen, I just know certain shit as a dad. The dad in me just came out for a minute.
And I actually I've been trying really hard not to be that vegetarian who's like, hey guys, I'm a vegetarian like all of the time, but you still spotted me. Damn.
Yeah. It's the dad in me. Like I just know, like, look, I'm getting ready for Christmas dinner. I already know the things I'm making. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, Allison's coming. I got to make Brussels sprouts. I'm making asparagus.
I would hope you'd sound a little more enthused if I was coming.
No, actually, because we're big vegetable eaters in our house, even though like I lucked out with having a vegan and a vegetarian daughter who are also like, I get it that you go and hunt and we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely okay with the fact that I go out opening day, I take a deer and that there's meat on the table. Never, my vegan daughter, sometimes we go back and forth just because I like to pick on her. I love her to death because she'd be like, I'd be like, be sure you don't want to try this cheese. And she's like, no, I don't want to try your cheese. I'm like, it's pretty damn good cheese.
Honestly, I respect the hunt, because what brought me back to being a vegetarian, because I was a vegetarian for a long time, and then I came back to eating meat, and now I'm, as of this year, vegetarian again. And what got me was I can't bring myself to kill my own food. If I could, I would feel justified in eating meat, but I don't have it. I don't have it in me. I
don't have it in you.
I just can't. So I respect it. I feel like if someone is going to eat meat, maybe at least once in their life, they owe it to the animals to like just slit the throat of the thing it's themselves and
Look,
not.
it's a game change.
Yeah.
I will absolutely. Welcome to Hunting Hour with Allison, with the vegan and the meat eater. So we just completely changed the name of this show. But no, you're absolutely right. Because I will tell you right now, until you've taken an animal, sat in the woods, done it the right way,
Mm,
and then field dressed, which is a very nice way of taking what was inside and putting it on the outside.
yeah.
It's a very nice way of saying it. Until you've done that, you don't quite have the right vibe
Yeah.
of what's going on here. And especially when you realize what in like I'm not look, I'm gonna eat it. I'm not raising my own everything, but industrial farms, like until you find some places that aren't, I look out living so close to Vermont. See, that's a problem, Allison. See, you're in Tennessee, you can find some good stuff there, but because y'all can get ramps. We can't get ramps here in New York. You know what a ramp is?
No.
Okay, you have to search around. There's only about 6 weeks that they're out. They're like an onion called a ramp,
Okay.
and they're so damn good. And
Okay.
they grow wild throughout Tennessee. Like I said, my mom's family's from East Tennessee, just outside of Johnson City. Look, this is how you know my mom's people are from Tennessee. They're out East Tennessee, just outside of Johnson City, Elizabethton, right near Black Bottom.
Tennessee has some weird city names. There's a city near me called Saudi Daisy. I can't get over it. A Saudi. Why would you want to name your city after a Saudi Daisy?
Wonder what a Saudi date. What is a
Like
Saudi?
SODDY, like soggy, kind of like dampened, like pressed
A
down.
soggy daisy.
Yeah, Saudi though, like SODDY.
Oh, wonder what that is. That's weird.
It's just
Now,
I don't
that's
know.
my favorite. Well, Kristen, you're gonna have to be my second favorite
Kristen.
Californian because my favorite Californian is my cousin, and they do love her, but I love you too, Kristen. Kristen has done so much for me in this show. I can't even begin to explain it to you folks.
Aw.
But are you planning on touring? And she already loves your music.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I'm not. I don't have plans at the moment. I am planning to start planning touring. We could put it that way.
I'm planning to plan the plan.
That
To plan.
That is the one fear or
Do you want
hurdle.
to tour? Do you want to tour though?
I do. I want to do it in such a specific way though. Like I don't want to just book a venue and sing and make my money. Like I want to make art. I don't know, maybe set up sort of like a museum feel, like an immersive exhibit feel, or like I just need it to be so different. I have visions of like singing on a circular stage that's in the middle of the room instead of being at the front of the room.
Love music on the round. So that's called music in the round.
I did not know that. Okay, well, I thought I came up with that. I'm not original. Never mind.
Elvis is very famous for Elvis in the Round. Is a very famous concert where he played an entire show in the round where all the audience was around him. So it's playing in the round.
There's something so astrological about this. I don't, and we don't have to have that conversation, but it's such a Pisces thing, this like circle symbolism, like in the work of Piscean people. I'm a Pisces moon, so like, and I'm pretty sure Elvis has Pisces somewhere in his chart. But anyway, we don't need to. Point is, to answer your question, Kristen, I want to tour. I have had a weird time finding bandmates around here, such a weird time. And I have lore that I'm trying to rewrite my narrative about. So my narrative up until this past year was I'm afraid to get on stage because trauma or whatever. And I'm just trying to shift my mindset to be like, no, being on stage is easy. I don't remember what it's like to have trauma related to the stage, and like almost like hypnotize myself into it, if that makes sense. But
I got a book for you.
What'd you say?
I got a book for you.
What is it?
Unfuck Your Brain.
I've heard of this book. Okay. It's going on my list.
So I just finished. I just started reading that one, but it's because I do the audiobooks because I drive a lot for the work that I do. Hint, hint, folks, I own the Budget Blinds. That's my company. But yeah, I listened to that. It's called Unfuck Your Brain, and I have no problem with Foul language. It's so I have no problem, but there's a lot of it in that book. Like it's
Right.
very heavy.
Makes me like it more.
Yeah, and we're getting close to that closing time. And Aunt Rose says you sound a lot like her Clay, and her Clay is amazing, and it was so much fun to interview. And he has very specific ideas of touring. Now, but that brings me up to this idea. And again, folks, if you're just joining us and you're just hearing about Alicen Grey, and that's Grey Gray, make sure you're checking her website out, whenhumanshadwings.com. She's also on YouTube, When Humans Had Wings. For you though, is there anyone right now that you would say, hey, this is the one person I would love to open for? Like this is
Oh,
my opener. Like if somebody right now, and you know what, I'll give you three. I'm gonna give you three. You ready?
okay.
Somebody who's dead, somebody from the past, and somebody who's current. Three artists that you would be like, these are my three. Got anybody? Don't cover your face and hide it. Think about it. Come on.
Dead David Bowie, but I don't believe he's dead.
Oh, shut your mouth. David passed away, and I
But
love David
he's
Bowie.
not dead. No, I'm
David
gonna
Bowie
show you.
passed away.
I'm gonna show you my proof. Okay.
There's no proof. Listen,
He's
David
a performance artist. His death was faked as a work of art. I swear to God. I swear to God.
He passed away of cancer. I love David. Did you know he was the richest musician in all of England when he passed? For the longest time he was. He even had bonds called Bowie bonds, if you didn't know that.
Oh, I did not.
David Bowie, and I can still remember when the Thin White Duke, and watching videos when he first came out before his music. I got some David Bowie CDs. I love David Bowie.
Yeah.
Oh, I love David Bowie.
I love his like 90s era actually. When he started collaborating with like 9 Inch Nails and stuff. Oh my God, early 2000s stuff. Yeah. Okay, so when you say past, you mean like a band that isn't active right now? Like they've
right, like so David Bowie, somebody who's passed away. Yeah. So that would be amazing to play with David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
So an artist that a group that really just isn't doing anything anymore, but you're like, hey, I really love these guys, but they're not doing anything anymore. Like Counting Crows. I could see you opening for Counting Crows.
Well, it was gonna be a tie between Flyleaf and Mute Math, but both of them are like on a technicality because Flyleaf started touring again like maybe a month ago. So you should have asked me this a month ago. And and then Mute Math, they technically broke up, but Paul, the lead singer, is planning to like keep the band going. So, but like more like as a solo project. So I don't know. I feel like he should just like let the band go and just be a solo artist and use his own name, but that's my opinion. And as for current, Chris Corner of IMX or Sneaker Pimps. Oh my God. Because I've been to one of his shows. When I say he, like, that is the level of artistry, because like he basically takes like no budget and makes you feel like you're at $1 million concert. Like, for example, he also kind of makes his own costumes, which I just appreciate. And he did this thing where he put these like mirror shields on his forearms, like these mirror like arm extensions. And the way the spotlights were coming down and his arms were moving, it was like he created this light show with his body using these mirrors and the movements of his arms. It was so cool. I was like, he's an artist after my own heart. He's so about the art. I think he like moved out to the desert and like lives in a shed or something so that he could just make music all day, which I respect.
Very interesting. And those are see, and this is proof, folks, that Alicen is very artistic, because I know who Sneaker Pimps are, and then she mentioned another group that they were in. I was like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, he moved on.
I know, but then the other one, I was like, I don't know.
Chris Corner of Sneaker Pimps. So he's the one who took over after Kelly Alley, the original female vocalist of Sneaker Pimps. And there was a whole drama. Everyone was like, you can't just replace a female vocalist with a male vocalist. And they were like, yeah, we can, watch us. And so anyway, he went on to do his own thing. And so his current solo project is called I Am X, which is a play on Sneaker Pimps' album called Becoming X. So basically he moved from Becoming X to being I Am X. And yeah, which I love him a lot. I actually thought about handwriting letters to my biggest influences and just thanking them for like
You
the
should.
inspiration all through the years. Yeah, and I want to write him a letter. His was one of the best concerts I have ever been to.
And also, folks, if you're not watching the live, make sure you go look Alicen up. Before the show started, I made a offhand, just ha ha, old guy joke and said, "Are you even old enough to go to the bar?" And she was like, "I'm 30." And I'm like, "You're a effing liar," because she looks like she's about 19.
I get that a lot.
And I'm like, but you know what, though? Quick sidebar. I always say 30 is the greatest age.
I feel pretty great. Yeah.
Because here's why 30 is such an amazing age. I'm going to tell you. 30 is the only time in your life where you're going to be able to say two phrases. And I want you to think about this. 30 is the only time in your life where you're going to be able to say, "Man, I don't know what that is. I'm only 30 years old." And it's also the only time in your life when somebody says something to you, you go, "Man, shut the hell up. I'm 30 years old. I know what I'm talking
Too
about."
old for that, yeah.
The only time in your life where you can use those two phrases at one time.
The
Because
age of the gray area.
It truly is, because when
not
you're
old.
29, you're always like, "I'm only 29. I'm only
Right.
29." And 31, you're like, "I'm 31 years old." I get what you're talking about. 30 is the only time where you can go, "I'm this," and it gets you out of everything. You just have to decide, like, what do I want to get out of? When somebody's like, "Hey, don't you understand this?" Be like, "Man, I'm only 30 years old. How am I supposed to know what that is?" It's a great time.
You know what's funny? I never wanted to be the kind of person who lies about my age, but I think my face makes it so that it would be very easy to lie about my age and keep letting people think I'm still under 30. But what if I decided to lie about being older? Just to really fuck with people. Like,
Just jack people all up completely. I mean, you've got it either way. And so now I know you're not having tours, but what about just if somebody was in the Chattanooga area? Is there an open mic that they can see you at? Anything like that?
I'm going to be setting that up in the year 2024, just like doing local things, because Chattanooga's actually been so wonderful about supporting the local artists in the music scene. Like they have this whole program called Soundcore that pays you to busk on the street, which is so cool. Like,
What?
Busk. Oh, so busking is when a musician just goes out, does an acoustic set on the sidewalk, and you put out a hat for like tips and stuff. So that's called busking. So they pay you to busk. They give you a stipend, and you get out there, you sing your own music, and you keep whatever tips you get. So I might just experiment with, because I want this to be the year I get back on stage. I haven't performed in 12 years. I grew up on stage, and I've had a very complicated relationship with it. So I've been kind of safe hiding behind, my digital music and just singing in my studio. But I know it's coming to be time that I get back up there, get back in the ring, so to speak.
Well, I have to tell you, your music is incredible.
Thank you.
It really truly is. And it's very inspirational that what you've done, if I'm as I hear and I understand everything, you've kind of taken this on your own and said, "Well, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be, and I'm going to keep it pure, and I'm not going to allow anything to taint it yet." I mean, look, eventually, and listen, I hope you sell out, Alicen. I pray you sell out. All these idiots are like, "Oh, you're a sellout." Well, guess what? I hope you sell out. I hope you sell out concert halls. I hope you sell out arenas. I hope you sell out everything that you ever do.
Thank you.
And we've got a bunch of people now, folks. Look, we got a couple minutes left in this show. If you have questions for Alicen, please type those questions out. Let her know what you got going on. There's a handful of us. Please give some likes and follows to what we have. And if you're looking to see what she's got going on, she has her YouTube channel, When Humans Had Wings. She has her .com, whenhumanshadwings.com. Let us know what your thoughts are. Take a listen to her music. Now, Nate didn't pop up. I don't know what Nate's got going on. Him and I will have problems later. Nate's a good friend of mine who's always here. Matter of fact, let's text Nate, folks. We're going to text Nate real quick and send him a message and ask Nate nope, not Nate Fowler. Where's wrong Nate? I have a lot of Nates in my life. I don't know why. So
I tend to believe that that's symbolic. Like when you have a lot of a certain name in your life, that you should look up the meaning of the name and see what that means.
I have to look it up, but I think his name just means he who can't pick in the online fantasy football draft. That's what his name means. But he ain't here to defend himself, so I don't give a shit. But here's what.
Oh, thanks, Mickey.
Look at Mickey. Everything about this interview was stupendous. I love you, brother, man. Big thanks to you. Please make sure you go check out Mickey Z. He's a phenomenal guy. But Nate would ask this question.
Post-woke podcast.
Say it again. Post-woke.
Post-woke podcast, yeah.
So let me ask this for Nate. So Nate would probably ask you, do you have a favorite post-show meal? What is your go-to hey, you did a show or recording an album, you're done. What is your celebratory meal? And I'm curious, going from New York to Chattanooga, has it changed?
No, because I'm sorry, I actually am planning my escape from Chattanooga. I respect this place; it's really helped me launch my music into the world. But the food is really lacking here. It's so depressing. Everything's so bland and flavorless, and you know what? I eat really healthy, which is easy to do in New York. But here, everything's deep fried and and I just don't feel good when I eat stuff like that. So,
You don't
I would say, what'd you say?
Hush puppies.
No, I had one once, but I didn't. It just is so heavy in my stomach. It's not pleasant for me. I know. I'm sorry.
Collard greens, collards.
Yeah, vegetable, of course. So oily though. But as for favorite thing to eat, it's changed now that I'm vegetarian. In the past, I would have said chicken madras curry from this very specific Indian restaurant in Brooklyn. Life-changing. Because instead of using vinegar in the curry, which is what they traditionally use, they use pickle juice.
Interesting. So it's still a vinegar. It's still vinegar based.
Yeah, it's so good. And I don't even I'm not a pickle person, but they do it right. So it's this place, the place in New York I'm talking about is was it Bombay Kitchen in Brooklyn? It's off the L train in Williamsburg. It's so good. But anyway, now I actually recently discovered this recipe. I think I've made it 10 times because I'm so obsessed with it. It's Jamaican jerk lentils. So
I love lentils.
Yeah. It's a great meal replacement for when you are transitioning away from meat. Jamaican jerk lentils. So it's oh my God, it's got coconut milk and tomato juice and oh my God, it's got everything. It's so good. And yeah.
I could mess with that. Now, I'll tell you my favorite food towns in New York City. Obviously, everybody loves Little Italy. You can't get wrong with Little Italy in New York City, but I'm a big K-Town fan. You ever been up to K-Town, Koreatown?
I think I've once.
Up off of 6th Ave, not far from Amtrak, about 10 blocks up from Penn is K-Town. And that's all Korean food and be it Korean and some Japanese, but the little chubby kid that lives in my soul loves it. And Kristen says, you are such a bright star. You are articulate, positive, and inspiring. And she hopes you sell out too. Fabulous interview. Thank you. I know I'm very amazing. Thank you, Kristen. I think she was talking about you, but so look, folks, as we say in every episode, if you're finding Alicen through me or me through Alicen, take that time, go on to YouTube, go on to Spotify, go on to Apple, whatever it is. I'm on all those things. She's on all those things. Give us that that share, that follow, that 5-star rating, that comment that says, hey, how much you enjoyed this, how much you enjoy her music. It may sound cliche. It may sound like, here he goes again. But you don't understand. We were talking about how the algorithms work. That's how this is found. That's how people discover us. That's how people know what we have going on. We would love that we can put it out on the ether, and all of a sudden, the big TV station, the ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Netflix, and all those people would just go, let me go ahead and grab them right now. Well, guess what, folks? They don't know I exist until you do those, and they don't know Alicen exists until you do those things. So take your time, do those things, make that happen for us. Again, next week we have Crazy Aunt Rose coming on. I cannot wait to talk to Aunt Rose. She is absolutely a blast. I'm reading her book. Aunt Rose, if you're still listening, the name of the book is Things You Shouldn't Talk About with Your Kids, I believe is what it's called. It's a little thin book. It's got great illustration in it. And it's all the things that she talked about with her two sons, Clay, and I can't think of her other son's name right now.
I
And
want to
all
hear
this-
more about. You mentioned Clay was a drummer, or that he has some concert ideas.
Clay is
About
an
that.
amazing drummer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. KLAE. And he goes by Clay Barnum Num, BARNUM-NUM.
Okay.
He is an absolutely badass drummer. I would love to see him go up against my other favorite drummer, which is Isaiah Gill, who's another guest that we've had on here. And Isaiah is currently the drummer for Black Flag.
Ooh, nice.
Has won national competitions for drumming. So I would
Yeah.
love the two of them just get at it. Like, I love good drums. I'm a
Yeah.
drum guy. Like, I always like John Bonham. You know who John Bonham is?
No.
John Bonham was the drummer for Led Zeppelin. And his son is Jason Bonham, who had the band Bonham. And when Led Zeppelin got back together, Jason played the drums with Led Zeppelin on their only live after the band stopped being a band. Is Jason. So John Bonham. So anytime you listen to anything Led Zeppelin, that's John Bonham. And when John died, they stopped being Led Zeppelin. Yeah, like drums. But you know what they call the guy who hangs out with the band, right?
No.
The drummer.
How did I not see that coming? I'm more of a bass girl myself. I actually just today was thinking I want to pick up an instrument and just because I tried to learn guitar 2 years ago and it wasn't my instrument.
Yeah.
I was having a good time learning piano a few years back, but just got out of the habit. And now I'm realizing, wait, I gravitate towards really good, dirty, distorted bass lines. And it would be cool to be the person making those bass lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get dirty with it. Well, look, folks, again, make sure you join us every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we always do. Now, don't log off on me, Alicen. We got to talk for just a moment after we get done this. But at the end, and I know you said you listen. I appreciate that you listen to a couple shows. And listen, folks, Alicen is an amazing guest because she actually took the time to let people know she was coming on here. I have to fight with some people about that. But if you've listened to all the episodes, you know what's coming next. The guest always gets the final word. So what's the final word, Alicen?
Humans can fly.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.